Broadcast the rhythm. Go live, Vegas on the screen, feeling the flow, so pristine. Boom, as the beats align, electric dreams, they intertwine.
Please repeat Nancy's Riot podcast about positivity, being strong, get survival, mental health, helping each other and overcoming life's challenges. Psycho like a lab, I'll this to be a hurt. Hey. Chasing me is everything to the Lord alone. Hey, I'll let go and chase. I don't win.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everybody's having a wonderful start to their week. Once again, as I always say, thank you for joining me tonight and giving me your time, which is something that's so precious. And I cannot thank you from the bottom of my heart for everyone who takes the time to watch me, subscribe. This is the reason why I created this channel. Is my podcast is for us to lean on one another and learn from one another. So again, thank you for your time. As I mentioned to you guys, I'm not doing it in studio. I've been having to do some changes to my schedule and whatnot behind the scenes, but I will be in studio for the next episode. Aaron, while I told you guys I was going to do a live, and if he's watching, which I would be shocked if he hasn't been keeping an eye on my channel, or his wife, tonight, that he can call in and we can get this conversation over with, because like I said, he's been bugging the shit out of me for 4 years. He won't fuck off.
Oh yeah.
So
you want me to put the phone number up?
Yeah, let's put the numbers up.
Sure.
And let's get going, because if he wants to have that conversation, he's going to get it tonight. But remember, Ron, you need to shut the fuck up, and the only thing that's going to come out of your mouth is yes or no. Otherwise, you're going to be hung up on, because this is not your show. I could never get you to shut the fuck up when we were married, but this time around, you do not have control. So, or, anybody that has a question for me or just wants to have a conversation with me, the lines are now open. USA 702-329-6947. Internationally, 1-855-502-4321. Canada, 587-997-3200. I am Nancy, host of Nancy's Riot. So anybody that is watching would like to call in, comment while we wait to see if he calls in. And if not, Aaron, do you mind if we talk to see if maybe...
Sure. What would you like to talk about?
Well, remember 2 weeks ago when we filmed, you asked me after the show, like, I don't remember exactly the question.
Oh, when I said, why is he doing this?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, why?
And I said, I really don't know, because I was really good to him. As I've said, a week after we said I do, he threatened to divorce me if I didn't change my eating habits to vegan, which he's not vegan. I mean, and this was like a week, but after you asked me that question, I actually thought back of why, and I can't pinpoint one particular thing, because there was really no reason. There's really no reason for him to be doing this, especially after so many years, because I know, like, I fell in love with his potential, because he is a gifted artist, but I think I have found out that most people, what scares them is the one thing that they should do, because the magic is found beyond that fear that holds us back from doing things. And with him, I think he's always been fearful of failure. I'm the complete opposite. I'll take a jump, but so to kind of answer, I guess, your question and going back while we're waiting to see if he does call in or his wife. The night that we got married, one of my friends that was at the wedding had called and we were FaceTiming and we joked about something. And I didn't realize how much he held grudges. But it wasn't until about a year later or so, or almost a year later, he told me about, we were having a conversation about traveling, and he said he was a world traveler. And I told him, no, you're a world traveler. That's not you've only been to a couple countries, which was Mexico and the Dominican Republic, well, an island. And I said, you've just gone to a couple places. That's not a world traveler. So I explained to him the definition of a world traveler. And it wasn't until a year later that he told me I insulted him that night, because I corrected him and said that he wasn't a world traveler, which I didn't mean to insult him. I was just trying to correct him, like what it meant. So I think he just held grudges. And there was the conversation that I had with my friend the night that we got married, I think is something that maybe he was upset about. And a week after we got married, I don't know, it started. It's really hard to pinpoint it because I've never been in this situation. And I was talking to my attorney, as I mentioned to you, Aaron, and the stories like mine, I see them on Dateline 48 Hours, and or even like, gosh, Netflix, all the Netflix, the Tinder Swindler, I saw that show. It's just wild to me that I'm watching these things on TV, or I've watched them for so many years, and now it's like I'm living it, the nightmare. I just haven't spoken up about it in a public way. And now, unfortunately, because the police department, Las Vegas Metro Police Department, fails to just take a simple incident report about the threats that he has made to you, to my friend, spelled out my name in those threats, that they won't even take an incident report. And I'm realizing also, like, just going through this process and how screwed up things have been, because I haven't really gotten into the things that I've tried to do behind the scenes to get him to fuck off. But I've been trying to legally for 4 years. And that folder that you guys saw, that's just a tiny little portion of the 4 years. And to understand him, even when I was married to him, I had to put myself in his mindset and how his mind works. Because I remember there was a time where for about a month, I literally did everything he wanted me to do, like, perfectly. I made sure I answered my phone on the first ring. I followed all his rules, if you will, because I wanted to see what would happen if I did everything perfectly, how he would react. And so sure enough, he kept moving the goalpost. So I'll give you an example. There was a chicken dish that he liked for me to make for him. And I remember telling him, he asked me what I needed for him to pick up so I can make it. So I gave him the list. And one of the things was rice. And he bought the wrong rice. And when I let him know that I didn't know how to make that rice that he bought, somehow it became my fault that I didn't know how to make that rice. And he couldn't just be grateful for the simple fact that I was making him dinner. And take accountability that he bought the wrong rice. And so I was explaining to him that just for me to be able to make the rice that he did like, I had to screw it up thousands of times to finally get it perfect. So just having to relive and go through my journals where I was mentally, it's bringing up the memories. And before, I know that when I used to look at them, I would cry. Now they don't make me cry. I feel nothing. That's how I know how much I've healed and how much I've grown. Because in the past, I mean, don't get me wrong, they still piss me off sometimes because I do have a mouthpiece on me. And I'm not somebody who just lets somebody bully me and just going to sit there and take it. Like I said, I had to because I was sick. And even now, like, my life is so peaceful. Like, I am so in love with myself, my life, the person I continue to become, and the people that I surround myself with, that other than him, life is good. And
Do you remember your first argument? And did you think, like, this is getting out of control? Like, this is weird? Or, like, when was the first moment you realized something was different?
a week after we said I do, when he threatened to divorce me if I didn't change my eating habits to vegan, because I'll never forget the look on his face, because I looked at him and I said, "You're joking, right?" And he said, "No, I'm not fucking around." And I'm like, "What?" Like, are you serious? I was still trying to comprehend, like, what just came out of his mouth. And he asked me, "Did I hurt your feelings?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." I said, "We just got married, so why would you joke about divorce?" But I remember vividly telling him, "But you shouldn't, I'm not somebody that you should threaten about divorce." I said, "Because I don't fuck around." And then he just said, "I'm kidding." And then I was crying at that point. And then he hugged me and he was just like, "I'm just kidding, babe." And that's what he would always do. And thinking back, he never apologized really for anything whenever he got caught doing anything. He would always deflect. And I think I mentioned the last time that I follow some creators, and they've helped me put pieces together. And there's one actually creator that he put out a reel today about narcissists, because that is one of his ex-girlfriend told me that he was a narcissist, as well as the girl he had. There was, I guess, somebody that he kept going between two women. Anyhow, when she told me narcissism, and I started looking into it and asking the therapist and whatnot, it helped me put a lot of pieces together and help me make sense of his behavior. But I want you to listen to this while we wait, because I want people to listen. And this would make a lot of sense. So he's a diagnosed narcissist. He's goes by Leon Walker. He's on all social media platforms. And somebody that openly speaks about his narcissism and the issues mentally that he battles with, and that it wasn't until I think he was 47 that he was diagnosed. But anyhow, he was in the military, and I'm going to let you listen to this while we wait, because
there has been a lot of women that, and even now, but the women that I dated that couldn't stand my guts, they'd tell me, "I can't stand you." And the other day, somebody on YouTube was like, "I hate to see his face." I don't go back and forth with them people. But anyway, the ones that were in my life that couldn't stand me, narcissistic people. And I was talking to my daughter today, right? I play daughter. And I found that she's always upset with the father of her child, always. And I've been talking to her for a few years now. But when a narcissist or narcissistic person envies you, when they're jealous of you, when they still like you, when their new supply cannot compare to you, they still get joy out of antagonizing you. That's a trait of narcissists. They still get joy, so much joy that they look to do it throughout the day, on any day, any occasion, birthdays, holidays. When you have a child with them and you are the better parent, they will never tell you that. They will never tell you that you're the better parent. They will most times won't even congratulate you or say, great job with raising our son or daughter. They are antagonizing you. And they get a lot out of it. So when you find yourself constantly upset with the narcissist or narcissistic person, is because they still have emotional control over you. That emotional control stems from you being upset with them. You've been hurt by them. They cheated on you, whatever they did. They do things on purpose to take time away from you and your new man or woman. They interfere with your day. They disrupt your evenings. They do all those things, and they do it on purpose. These are the ones that know that you are better than them. You were the best thing for them. They lost you, and they don't think that they can get you back, which most times they can't, because they delve more into their anger issues and their antagonistical issues and their abilities to hurt or harm you more than rectifying any situation or even going through therapy. I've done this a lot. When I can't see her, when I can't be with her, when she's done with me, I do little, narcissists are petty. I was very petty. Little petty things to ignite a fire in you and then block you, unblock you, leave you alone, don't call you, don't text you, because I won. When you call me and curse me out, when you like, oh, I can't stand you, I can't wait till you get your karma. And a lot of y'all say that. I just want him to get his karma.
He's Leon Walker, like I said. He puts him and a few others, they put some, because Ron is really petty. It was always tit for tat with him, and he would always try to flip it that it was me that was doing the tit for tat. And I realized that was his gaslighting at the time, because nobody's ever done to me what he's done to me. So it just really made me pause. And I think I've said it. It really made me look at myself, why somebody like me would choose somebody like him. And that's when I realized, when I really started to evaluate and I was able to remove myself from the situation, that I've mentioned it, I fell in love with myself, his kindness, all those things. He was just mirroring me. And it's mind-boggling. I don't know, it's just that it's still going on, like I said, after 4 years, and he's remarried. And yeah, I don't know if he calls in. I guess we'll find out, because I was good to him. There was no reason for him to do the things that he did, continue doing the things that he's doing. None whatsoever. I mean, we don't share anything together. No kids, nothing. And we were married very briefly. So it's interesting to find myself in this situation. And I feel for the people that are in my situation and cannot leave. And also the ones that realize that, like I've said, that the laws are so screwed up, and I'm finding that out the hard way myself now, because I find myself in this situation. But I'm somebody that, when I see things that are screwed up, especially something like this, that lives are on the line, I'm somebody who, I take action. I don't just sit there and let somebody else do what needs to be done, because I've understood in life that there's some things that if you want it done, you've got to do it yourself. And I'm somebody that's something I understand, that I'm probably going to have to take on that battle myself and take the fight to these politicians for a change, because shit needs to change. That is without a shadow of a doubt, is that I've learned and I continue to learn. And also, like I said, I've never realized, it never even really dawned upon me about when men go through these situations. And it is harder to believe them because and I think that society too, the way that things have been set up, it's like, you know, and men are the ones that hurt women. I'm not, that is just the reality. Statistics show it. But the men that do go through this, I think our society has made it where men can't be vulnerable to express their emotions and to just simply cry, which is, something so natural and human. And like I've said, just the simple human to human interaction of having a conversation, I think that so much is missing. And it's easier to open up to a stranger than it is to somebody because you know that there's less judgment. And I honestly, like, when I launched this podcast, I did it to share my life, and that's exactly what I'm doing. And I'm having to document now in real life. You guys are getting to witness or hear what's been going on behind the scenes for the last 4 years. I didn't think I'd have to make episodes about him. I was hoping that maybe he'd give up already, or he would have given up. And I don't know, maybe after this he will, because maybe he'll get bored, whatever, find his peace, concentrate on working his marriage out and whatever's going on in their life, because I don't know of any human, man or woman, that would be okay with their spouse fixated on a former spouse, especially when I've never reached out to him, have not dialed his number since 2022.
Right? Just get up and leave, go in different directions, live your lives,
Yeah, and I didn't want to do this, like, this is time consuming. I could have other guests and do something better with my time, but here I am. And at the end of the day, unfortunately, I am having to document it now, because since the laws aren't set up to do their job. So,
how many other women do you think go through this?
a lot. I have the statistics written down somewhere. I don't have them right off the bat, but there's quite a bit. That's why there's so many domestic violence shelters. And, I don't even know that there's any for men, because as I find myself in these situations and I'm talking to more people and hearing stories, it's interesting how much of a need there is for this type of situation. And I don't know if anybody, if there is, I would love to hear from somebody if there's a designated, like a help center or a help desk where they can help you in situations like mine. I would sure like to know, and how to get involved and how to bring more awareness to it, because I don't know that it's talked about enough. Do you, Aaron?
I think it's a touchy subject because people don't want to get involved in domestics. Nobody does, not even the cops. And I think that's why police departments try to, tend to not want to take information, let it go. They don't want to be a part of it. They would rather tell you it's a civil matter, deal with the courts, that way they don't have to deal with it. And that's unfortunate, because I think women that are, I'll have to say helpless, where do they turn?
Right. And I honestly can't imagine being, like, if I was stuck with him having kids, or completely, because we weren't together that long, so we never intertwined anything together. I didn't even find out that he owed back taxes until I went to go do my taxes. And I texted him for his social. And he's like, what do you need it for? I said, I'm doing my taxes. He's like, what do you mean you're doing your taxes? I'm like, I do them every year. And then he texted me telling me that he hadn't done them for 3 years. But then when I got home, he said 6 years. So I don't know how far back he actually did it. So it was just lie after lie and layer after layer. And I've learned so much about him post divorce that I don't even really know who I was married to, in a sense.
So what happens for people in your position? Who do they reach out to? Where do they go?
There's shelters, but honestly, I don't know where they would go, and that's why it'll be interesting to me who reaches out to me and what I learn about, because I'm sure that there's somebody that has already gone through what I'm going through, and I would like to know how they overcame it, who helped them, how they handled it, because I'm clueless when it comes to this. So I'm learning. So if there's somebody out there that can give me their wisdom, please, by all means, reach out to me. I would love to hear from you, because I honestly, Aaron, have no idea. This is something so new to me.
You know, I have a friend of mine. I should get him in touch with you. He's a former police officer in Henderson. And they call him the problem solver because he's always trying to help people. He might be a good guy to pick his brain on your podcast one of these days. You know, ask him questions about what to do in this situation and who do you turn to, what can you do when the police department turns you away. Like, that might be interesting.
Yeah, and like I told you about my conversation with my attorneys, so that was interesting. It would be interesting to pick somebody's brain who's probably has dealt with this type of situations, because when I was talking to the attorney, he was telling me about the patterns too that they look for and what my situation would fall under. So it's always interesting to hear, because like I remember when I said in one of the episodes how he changed his password and I knew he was hiding something and I was trying to figure out his password. But I was thinking the way that I would have created a password. And I realized, it wouldn't work. So I had to put, if I was him, how would I go about creating a password? And sure enough, when I started putting myself in his thought process, I was able to get his password on the first attempt. But I wish a therapist might be good to come on and talk to them and talk about because he has a personality disorder, and there's a few in there. Yeah, it's you know what? I have the journals that I didn't read the last time, but I'm gonna read right to you guys, just so you could see how much journaling I do. And this isn't all of them, but so you guys see how detailed. I mean, I have quite a bit, and I have like a ton of small ones like this as well. But I'm going to read. I had gotten both of us this. His idea that I think I told you he had his dream idea that he didn't think it was possible. He didn't think anything was possible. So I had gotten him this notebook and gotten myself this notebook. And like it says, it always seems impossible until it's done. And it really is. But I would write to him like my thoughts. And I was doing this pros and cons thing about him one day. So here's a list. But I also wrote out exactly what I thought. So pros, I love him. too, provides sometimes. Cons, insults me, tucks down to me. He's mean, emotionally, mentally abusive, can't communicate in a healthy way, vengeful, thinks everything I say is an attack on him. And then Ron is the least educated, least smart, least driven, least disciplined, least fun to travel, least organized, least successful in business. He's the only person I've ever met that I've ever been with that doesn't own one award, doesn't have true long friendships, which that always seemed odd to me, and I would ask him, because to him it was odd that everybody in my life has been in my life for a long time. And he's the opposite, which I remember asking him where were his lifelong friends. And most of them, I think he would tell me that passed away. Let's see, doesn't have long life or true long friendships, lifelong friendships. I said that they use his friends that he does have use him for his tattoos, which they do. Some of them do, I think. He's the meanest, rudest, cruel man I've ever been with. I can't imagine what it would be like if I had really done something bad to him. And then I wrote, he is the meanest, evil monster of a man I married. How did I not see it? So those are my thoughts, which is wild. And honestly, like just a few years ago, I wouldn't have, probably 3 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to read this to you without breaking down crying. And it was, if you look at the date, 11/29/21, I wrote this at 8:56 p.m. And it was a letter to him that it was my first night away from him. Like, it wasn't my first time away from him, but my first time away from him where I had left him, because there were so many times where we would fight. And just for me to get some sleep, I would go stay at a hotel. I would book myself for a few days just to get away from him. So that, like, even though we were together for like 9 months, that we lived together, so, or a year, whatever time it was, a lot of that time I spent in the hospital, and also after brain surgery, I would check in myself into a lot of hotels just to get some rest and peace of mind and just to be away from him. And it's, that part is sad when I think back about it. Like how, if anything, it's more hurtful to think that a human would do that to another human in such a vulnerable spot. Does that make sense? Like that part makes me more emotional. Like there's the cruelness behind some humans, and I can't imagine the people that do encounter people that hurt them, kids, women who have been taken advantage of sexually and whatnot. Because it does scar you to a degree, and I've tried not to allow him in the situation to harden me in certain ways, because I think when you've been through the pain that I've been through, not just physically, but emotionally with him, and also it's not even so much him, it's the emotional toll that brain surgery took on me and how much it changed me, and having to relearn myself, and at the same time looking at him, and he had absolutely no empathy for me. And just all the things that he put me through. At the same time, I'm so proud of myself, the way that I've handled it, walked away from it. And I don't know, like, I guess most people would hate him, or it would be easy to hate him. But I don't. I feel sorry for him, if anything, because I feel sorry for him in the sense that I don't even know that it's sad that at his age he still can't take any accountability for all the mistakes that he's done, because at some point you get to an age where you can no longer, there's a quote, and I think, I don't know if I've said it, you can't lie to yourself, your mind knows the truth to your thoughts. So I can't imagine the lies that he must tell himself to try to convince himself that he's a good person. And I know the darkness in his thoughts and how dark that he is, and how much that has to eat away from his soul. And so when I say I feel sorry for him, that's what I mean. Whatever, I don't wish him even anything bad. I just wish that he would leave me alone. And like I've said, I wish that he would find some happiness. Because if any of the things that he shared with me of his childhood is true, which I can't say that it is because he lied about so many things, but if even half of it is true, he makes more sense. But at the same time, it's one of those things where, like I said, I don't even know who I was really married to because I've uncovered so many lies post divorce of things that people have shared with me. So I don't know. I just hope that he leaves me alone and that he finally sees, like, me doing this, opening up the lines for him to call in, and he's been leaving me messages or calling my number, texting me from fake numbers for years now. So he's never gotten a reaction. I've never replied to anything. This is the first time that I do it, and this is the only way I'm going to do it because I know that he would twist my words around or make something up. And even, a lot of some of my content I've noticed that was shared, and ever since I made those last 2 episodes, nothing has been shared. I would be shocked if he doesn't have any more fake accounts than the ones that I've uncovered in the last couple years to few weeks. But none of my content has been shared. It was being shared on Facebook, so I'm assuming that was him, and nothing's been shared since. And so I'm just hoping that he finally realizes, like, I'm not scared to talk to him. I don't have any issues talking to him if there's something like that we really had anything to talk about, but we really don't. So I hope that after this, he truly just gets lost. And I hope that if him and her want to stay together, that, they will. And that, I don't know, maybe she'll figure out a way for them to be happy and work on their marriage, because I don't want anything to do with either one of them, especially, I don't know her, but I don't know. It's all mind boggling to me, Aaron. It's hard to understand, because how can you understand what's.
Well, what I don't understand is when you love somebody, you don't hurt the ones you love. You don't want to hurt them. You want them to be happy. You want to encourage them. You want them to do wonderful things, see them succeed. That's the whole idea of love.
Yeah. And, honestly, since you asked me that question the last time, why does he continue doing that? Like, I had never even thought about it, because I don't sit there and think about him very often,
Maybe he still loves you in a way. No?
In his own,
when you love somebody, you don't want to hurt them, but maybe he loves to hurt you. Maybe he gets off on it. Maybe some people do, right? Enjoy it.
He definitely, for sure, because there were so many different times that he literally set me up just to see how I would react. There was one time where, okay, so I shared with you, a week after we said I do, he threatened to divorce me if I didn't change my eating habits to vegan. Well, within 2 or 3 weeks of that, I found on one of the televisions sexual images of him and somebody from probably 10 plus years before. So I waited till he woke up to tell him, hey, by the way, you might want to delete those images that were on your television. And he gave me some BS excuse. Anyhow, fast forward to a few months later, there was a sketchbook, and in there was a love letter from one of my former exes. And that letter, I honestly, if he's listening to this, he's listening to this for the first time. I've been looking for that letter for years. And the last place that I remembered where it wasn't, but it was in that sketchbook. Well, I had asked him if he wanted it since he's an artist. He said no, so I left it on the table, never knowing that that letter was in there. Well, at some point, he went through the sketchbook, found the letter, read it, what this former ex of mine wrote to me, and it was a love letter, and it was it's a very intimate letter, and I kept it because he knew I liked letters, so he would write letters to me, and I have his cards and the letters that he wrote throughout our relationship because they're just really nice letters. So anyhow, he read it. He thought that I was trying to get back at him for the images that I found on the TV. So in his head, that was my way to get back at him. Well, the person who was staying with us at the time, he told him the story, like Nancy did this on purpose to hurt my feelings, that I left that letter, and that's why I offered to hand him the sketchbook. Well, apparently he told this individual that he was setting me up, that when he got home, he was going to do this to the notebook so that the letter would fall out because he wanted to see what my reaction was. Well, he did exactly that. And when the letter fell out and I saw it fall out, I recognized the paper. And because it was in a small, like, notebook type paper, as soon as the letter fell out, I went over there and I grabbed it and I said, oh, don't take that, I'll take that. And he goes, what is that? And I'm like, nothing. So anyhow, he kept asking, like, what is that? So I told him, I said, it's a love letter from so-and-so. And I'm like, and then he started fighting with me immediately. You put that there on purpose. That's why you offered me the sketchbook, blah, 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 blah. And in that moment is when I realized that that's how his mind worked, is he sets people up that way to hurt them or to catch them in the act, or I don't know, whatever goes on through his mind. And in his mind, he wanted to catch me to see my reaction. And he got a genuine reaction, which was, oh, don't look at that. But I'd been looking for that letter, and I told him that. And I told him that I threw it away, but I didn't. I still have it, as well as all the other cards. And for no other reason. I don't care about this person anymore in that sense. They're just nice letters. So I don't know if anybody does that, but they're just nice letters to look at. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
I mean, if I found somebody and it bothered them enough, sure, I'd get rid of them. But honestly, with him, we got married so quickly, moved in so quickly, brain surgery, that it wasn't like I had time to really clean up that stuff. And that's why also when I found those images on his TV, I didn't, I guess, flip out on him because we did get married so quickly, and I know that he had a life before me. But looking back in that moment, I couldn't recognize it. But what he said to me is, I've been trying to get rid of it. I remember for how many years he said. He goes, but, oh my God, I can't imagine if my ex would have found it. And I just remember thinking, like, your ex? Why are you so concerned about your ex finding them when at the end of the day I found them, instead of him just saying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean for you to find them, especially after we were just newlyweds. But looking back, I think he had those images on that TV because anybody that he had been with before me, they were left on there on purpose to hurt the woman, because something like that is hurtful. Who wants to see their partner, especially new husband or wife, in intimate moments with a previous person. I'm not that. At least I wouldn't want to see that. I saw it. I was like, whatever. We just got married. He probably didn't have time to clean it up. But now looking back, the reason why I had been there for so long is because who knows what other eyes saw it and it caused a fight. And he probably thought the same thing was going to happen with me, but he got a completely different reaction, which was like, hey, you just might want to delete that versus a fight. Because there was another time that he told me the girlfriend that he had before me that they'd gotten into an argument and that she put his hands on him and that he put his fist out like this and she ran into him. I'm like, you mean
ran into his fist? I don't think so.
His fist.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think he hit her. So I don't know.
Is that kind of like the frying pan fell off the or no, was it the rolling pin fell off the top of the fridge and hit him in the head? I don't know what happened.
Yeah, one of those type of situations. But that was the BS story that he told me, and I just remember thinking like, she ran into your fist. He's like, yeah, that's what he said. He put his fist out and she ran into him, and that she was hitting him. But some other things, like the way that he started becoming violent towards me, I highly doubt that that's how it went down. And like I said, other things that I've uncovered post, because I went back to reading some of the text messages exchange, and I found the one where he hit his head against the wall, and his reply in the text was, that should tell you, because I brought it up at some point, like, I've never seen anybody do that. And he's like, well, that should tell you how crazy and nuts you drive me trying to talk to you. But with me, I think in the sense that I was so different that the women before me were easy to control, and I'm not and wasn't.
I was just going to mention that. It sounds like a controlling thing.
Yeah. And I think that was something that for him, he couldn't understand why he couldn't get control under me, because he'd always had control. But he did try to get me into like careers that he wanted me to do. There was things like, there was even a time where he came up to me and told me, he showed me a design of a tattoo that he wanted to put on the side of my thigh. And it was huge. And I remember when he told me, he's like, look at what I drew up for you. And I'm like, well, I didn't ask you for a tattoo. And I said, I don't like tattoos. Or nothing against anybody who has them. My kids have them. Just not my thing. So he said he wanted to do that on me. And I told him he couldn't. And then he tried to convince me for quite some time, trying to get me to let him tattoo me, and I wouldn't. So I know that he told me that a couple of his exes that he did tattoos, he messed them up in certain areas on purpose. So that's something he told me, and I think he forgot he told me that. So why would I let him tattoo me if he's done that to other women that he's dated? So the only thing I did let him do, which I had lasered off, was our initials on the wrist. We had got matching ones because I had told him I was going to change my last name, and I didn't, since he asked for a divorce a week after we said I do. So I figured, why am I going to bother? And then when I wouldn't change my last name, that's when he was bugging me about getting tattoos. So he did the tattoos, but I had mine lasered off. I don't know what he's done with his, but it was tiny. But
wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's so much that went on in such a short amount of time.
And how long did you know him before you got married?
We met, I think it was either the end of 2013 or sometime in 2014. And we dated for like a brief amount of time during that time, but my kids were still little. And at the time I was just really focused on my career. And he was flaky. That's the only thing that I noticed about him during that time. Like he would say he would call me at a certain time or, uh, but wouldn't. And at the time it was just like whatever because I was focused on my career, raising my kids. So after however amount of time, we just agreed that we weren't a good match romantically. And I said, he's like, well, can we follow each other on social media? And we did. So and we would comment like on pictures or things like that, but it wasn't anything beyond that. And um, I never saw anything odd because the pictures that would come across my page of his were like him and his daughter. So there wasn't anything like, to me at the time, throughout the years that I saw, he looked like a good person, an involved father, and like he had his stuff together. So, but looks are deceiving. So,
And then how long were you married for again?
um, so let's see. He came back. We started like talking a lot again, like that summer of 2020, and we probably spoke. I don't know for how long. It was a while before we saw each other again. So it would have been the summer of 2020, sometime then. I think it was that August that he commented on something on my Facebook. And I don't remember, but it was something on Facebook, and we started communicating again privately. And then he said, I haven't seen you in like 7 years or however long it had been. And then that's when I let him know that I was sick and I wasn't really around a lot of people because I was trying to prevent COVID because we didn't know how my body was going to react. And at that point, like I said, I already knew I was going to need brain surgery. And yeah, then when we saw each other, honestly, like the first few times that we saw each other face to face, we didn't do anything. We didn't get intimate or anything. We literally spoke until the sun came out. We would talk like 24/7. It was just about a lot of different things. And looking back, we were trauma bonding because that's when we started sharing. When I started learning about his childhood, vice versa and stuff. And then that's how like I don't know, there was just sob stories that he told me and I felt really bad. And I believed it, but I'd also never had anybody lie to me the way that he did. And so I was sick. Let's see. So that was summer of 2020 and we were married on my birthday, December of 2020. So it happened pretty quick.
So you guys weren't really married that long.
No. We weren't even like we were together like 24/7 during COVID because everybody was on lockdown. So we spent a lot of time together and we used to have a blast. It wasn't until we said I do where he flipped. And I think part of that was his controlling trait that he figured, well, we're married, so she can't just walk away. She can't just leave me. And I think that that's part of why he became so comfortable being abusive so quickly.
If
And
you were to do it all over again, what do you think you could have done differently?
that's an interesting question and it's hard to say. And the reason why it's hard to answer it is because I was so scared about going through brain surgery. So at the time, I remember when he proposed, and I did think this to myself. I didn't tell him this, I didn't say it out loud, but I just remember thinking, well, how bad could this be? And I might be dead in a few months, so what do I have to lose? And if it gets that bad, I'll just divorce him. Never. That's what crossed my mind. Never in my wildest dream did I think it was going to go to shit so quickly, but it did. A week after we said I do. And then it was just downhill from there because like I mentioned before, I just took the mental, verbal, emotional abuse. It was little by little because it started with, like I said, the threatening to divorce me about vegan. Then within like a week or so of that is when I found those images on the TV. And then when like a week or so of that, what was the other thing that I found? There was something else that I found. I don't remember what it was, but it was like nobody a spouse would want to see. Those type of situations. And then he was trying to make up to it, or like trying to be nice temporarily. And then he started with that I was terrible at everything that I did. And then so it just started like little insults like that. And there was even, I shared with you off camera that he'd never had health insurance until we married. And I remember the first time that he went to a doctor's, actually a dentist appointment, and he came home and told me, he's like, wow, I didn't realize that they treat you like royalty when you have health insurance. And even like some of the military benefits, since Mr. Frago was military and I was his wife while he served in the United States Army, um, I extended some things to him. And I remember he told me when I left, I had asked him, with the health insurance, I said, do you want me to keep you on my plan? But I'm just not going to pay for it anymore. You can pay me for what I pay for you. And he said, no, you could shove your health insurance up your ass.
So even after that, you tried to help him?
Yeah, because I told him I would keep him on my plan, but he would just have to pay for it versus me paying for it. And that's what he told me. And what's that, like January or so. So that would have been, I didn't enroll him back in at the end of, so he had it just for 2021 health insurance. And then by 2022, I removed him, and it was that January or February. It was pretty quickly into 2022. He has like 6 veneers, I think. Now my teeth are real, and people sometimes think that they're veneers, but they're not. And something that he had a thing with teeth, and he would tell me that he hated looking at my teeth because how perfect they were. And one time he wanted to look inside and inspect the back of them just to see if he can find anything wrong with them. So I opened my mouth and I let him, and I told him, I'm like, you're going to be upset. They're pretty perfect. So anyhow, then just remember him, he had 6 veneers and he wanted his teeth to look like mine, look more natural, because he kind of just smiles kind of like this. So that you only see the first 6, because all the other ones are like not that great. So anyhow, one of his veneers broke, or it cracked, it chipped, and he didn't have health insurance. So it ended up costing him like, I don't know, $1,500, $2,000. But he ended up having to get a crown versus a veneer. And then he asked me if I could add him back onto my health plan, and he would pay me for it. And I'm like, it's too late because we only do it once a year. So it was just different stuff like that it was just interesting, because when he asked, what I wanted to say to him when he asked me to put him, if I could add him back on my health plan, was, you told me to shove it up my ass. And I did exactly that. So, but no, I did. I try to help him a lot. And like I said, even if he wasn't such an ass, I would have asked him to do my logo. Because I have exes that I'm friends with. Like, I have a friend, my homemade recipes, made with love. That's somebody that I dated, and we get along great. He's an awesome person. We just romantically are just not a good fit, but we're great friends, and he's a great person. So, with most of my exes, I don't really have anything bad to say about, really. There's only one that I am going to talk about. It's not even anything. He's that relationship was a mindfuck, because that lasted 8 years. And he got physical with me after 8 years, because, and this is something I haven't publicly opened up about him, but I'm going to, because Ron has reached out to him. And this other person lied to Ron I don't know, one of the two lied. All I know is that they must have communicated because of some of the things that Ron said, that I know he must have spoken to this. I was a former fiance of mine who, him too, got remarried right after we ended. And he's somebody who, like I said, I know that Ron and him must have communicated, and to cover his ass from what he did and why our engagement ended after 8 years. With him, I would do things differently, which is I should have filed a police report against you. I should have never pitted you. And you've been in my Instagram stories, and I wonder if your wife knows that you were still communicating with me really up until 2019. And sometimes when I would go on TV, when I was campaigning for different politicians, he would go into his office and watch me and tell me that he saw me. And he would email me and tell me. But he is somebody that I am going to talk about, because he'll probably deny some of the things. And if he denies it, he knows I can prove that he's lying. But he's somebody that I am going to talk about. I just don't know when. But with Ron, if there's anything that I would have to do differently, it's hard to say because of where I was. I was sick. I wasn't in a good place mentally because I wasn't sure if I was going to live or not. I wasn't feeling good. So, and if I say, I honestly don't think I would, Aaron, because I really like and love who I've become and continue to become. There's certain things that have entered my life, and I think you know one of them specifically, that I don't think I would have had the patience
Right.
that I now if I wouldn't have gone through all those things. And
So maybe you learned something out of it. So that's a good
yeah,
thing.
I did. So I don't know that I would. I don't know that I would change anything, because then I wouldn't be where I am, and I wouldn't be who I am.
And who knows? Maybe you're down the road. You're going to save somebody's life too, and you just don't know it. Don't know.
I hope so. That's why I'm doing it. Or just somebody to reach out to me and help me out. If because like I said, I'm sure somebody's been into this a lot deeper than me, and probably 4 years ahead of me dealing with this crap. So I would love to pick somebody's brain and wisdom.
Well, what a great show you've done today.
And the lines have been open, right? And he hasn't called in?
No.
Okay.
Maybe he's not watching.
Well, thank you, everyone. And next episode should be in studio, and I'll be scheduling a guest.
We'll look forward to that one.
Thanks, Aaron. My teeth looks like...
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you. Like there's a gap.